Hello, everyone. I'm Dan.
And I'm Riley.
And welcome to the next episode of That One Podcast.
We are back after a little hiatus, and we are happy to be joined by City Councilman Nate Kring. We talk about his role on City Council, how he got into local government. But for those who don't know, he's also a business owner here in Tipton. So we get into a lot of talking business, and he's a professor as well who teaches entrepreneurship. So it's a really good conversation about, building a business, growing a business, but then, we sprinkle in the city council and the future of Tipton conversation as well. So definitely one you want to tune into.
All right, let's get into the next episode.
All right, welcome back to another episode of That One Podcast. I'm happy to be joined by Nate Kring today, and we're going to be talking all things Tipton. So before we jump into it, Nate, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, Nate Kring, City Council President. I've been on the City Council. This is my second year as City Council President. Moved here as a kid, grew up here, graduated in 2006, went to Wabash College, graduated there and joined the Army. Met my wife when I was stationed in California. Finally convinced her to move back to Indiana, and we eventually landed in Tipton, and love it here.
So she's not from Tipton, obviously. What were her first impressions?
What the hell?
Yeah.
No, it's just we met, and she goes, "Hey, I'm from a small town. I lived in Pebble Beach. I was stationed at Fort Ord in Pebble Beach, and we met and just chit-chatting, and she goes, I'm from a real small town, about 90,000. And I go, just wait.
Yeah.
So she would actually come here when I would come on leave. I would fly her out, and it was a culture shock to only have one grocery store in a county when she's used to 15 grocery stores within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It was definitely, especially before we had kids, a cultural shock. It's like, what do people do here, especially in the winter?
Yeah.
She's from the Central Valley, so they don't get snow. First time she actually saw snow fall was here in Indiana. So definitely a little bit of a shock. Now we love it. I mean, she loves it. Yeah. Loves the close-knitness of it. Loves that it's safe. Loves that we can rely on people and have grown to become really good friends with a lot of really great people.
Yeah, that's awesome. So before we go any further, Nate is joining us today to announce that Buc-ee's is coming to 31 and 28. That is the big news of the day.
That's right.
Just kidding. I just happened to be
drinking
out of a Buc-ee's cup, so we had to play into it. But, what are some of your favorite things about Tipton that's really kept you here? You two had the opportunity to be anywhere, and you come back to Tipton.
Yeah, we could have went anywhere. In fact, we could and have had the opportunity. I could have taken another job and moved to other places. I've worked remote, so that allows you the freedom to go wherever you want. We could have moved back with her family in California, but it's just the roots that we've put down. Of course, my family's here.
Yeah.
Now her family's starting to move here. So her mom moved here a couple of years ago. Her grandma and grandpa will be here May 1st.
Wow.
From Texas by way of California. So now we just got to get her dad on board.
Yeah.
So we just love the community. I mean, I'm biased because I grew up here, but we love the people here. We love that we can rely on so many people who are become like family.
Yeah.
So definitely the people, the safety, the close-knitness of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're a city councilman, but you also own a business here in town. Tell us a little bit about that.
Started Stars and Stripes in November of 2016, so we're coming up on a decade this year. Started as a residential cleaning business. Didn't really, just started it on a whim, to be honest. And within a few months, we realized real quick that there's no profit here. So we got a lucky call from Doug Crouch, who was running the grounds at IU Hospital. That's when they were building the new wing on, and asked if we knew anybody that did construction cleaning, which I didn't know was a thing. And that's when we made the pivot really quick, probably early 2017, to just do construction and commercial cleaning.
Yeah.
So we go in when the project is really when steel's set in the ground, and we provide general labor services from start to finish. And we've gotten into more what's called Division 10 type stuff, erecting silt fences, power washing, installing FFE, which is like equipment and furnishings and stuff. And we're one of the very few companies that do it. It's kind of a specialty thing.
Wow. So you started a business and you quickly realized, okay, it's as much as I thought the idea was great, maybe it's not working out. It's not as profitable as I thought. How do you manage that in terms of like when you're in it and you're like, okay, maybe it's not as profitable before you get this call about IU Health, what were you thinking in those times? Because I feel like there's a lot of people that have a great idea. They think, oh, this is going to be awesome. And then they get into it 6 months and it's like, oh, well, maybe it's not.
It's going to sound a little counterintuitive, the advice I'm going to give to what I actually did, but there's some nuggets of wisdom in there too. So the first thing I'd say is don't give up too fast. We could have easily given up, and we would have missed that lucky opportunity. I'm a big fan that when luck meets hard work, there's success. And there were times within the first 3 years, which is the most critical time for a business, I thought about, I'm not going to put my personal money to make payroll in here anymore.
Yeah.
But stick with it. I mean, honestly, if you're passionate and you believe that your idea and your business is a good one, stick with it. Small businesses fail at a high rate early on. You just got to stick with it. If you are going to pivot, I like the term fail fast. So if you realize your idea needs some tweaking or you're going to go in a different direction, make that decision quickly and then go all in on that too.
Yeah.
So it's not like we gave up. We just realized, hey, there's a better opportunity, more margin, and it's a niche market. Let's pivot to that.
Yeah.
And we did it quickly. We didn't hem and haw. We cut off residential like that day.
Wow.
I was just like, we cannot compete with the Molly maids and the cash customers and things like that.
Yeah. So now that you have made that pivot, what does it look like in terms of, you caught a break with the IU Health, what other type of projects are you guys involved in now? And like the typical, what does a month look like in terms of, are you jumping around job to job or is it more like long-term jobs that you're on?
Yeah, so the first thing we wanted to do was deliver value. We wanted to show, and this sounds like table stakes, like basic. We wanted to show that we can show up on time in the right uniform, ready to work. And so my younger brother helps me run the company. He's also a veteran. He's still in the National Guard going on 12 years. But these basic things are starting to kind of be not common in the construction space. So there are companies that do what we do. They provide general labor, but what that really means is you call an office and then they send hopefully the right amount of people in the right uniform and they show up at the right time.
Yeah.
And then you're even more lucky if half of them are ready to work. So we realized that's something we could really deliver value on. And as we've expanded, we can be on a project as small as 1,000 square feet or one as big as the new bio building a couple years ago at Purdue was 250,000 square feet, 6 stories. We were there from start to finish. So we have some clients that they just use us towards the end, and we have some clients that are like, I need you here every day or close to every day, starting now. And we run 1 to 4 jobs a day. And sometimes we work Saturdays too. We've got a project, a big one coming up next weekend on a Saturday.
Okay. Yeah. So then is it all construction related in terms of like you're doing it during builds, during construction? It's not necessarily like after the fact or like ongoing maintenance or anything like that?
We have very few. We don't. We want to try to stay focused on what we're really good at. We have a few that we do some reoccurring cleans like commercial. We have some where we do a couple maintenance things for them on a recurring basis. But for the most part, we're 90% construction.
Yeah.
We do get calls from businesses that are like, hey, you did such a good job. Can you come back every quarter and deep clean my facility? And we're more than happy to do that as well.
Yeah. Awesome. So, you're from a small town. You started a business in a very small town. And sometimes that's a blessing. Sometimes it's a curse in terms of, you're very limited to what your market is in Tipton. How did you go about branching outside of Tipton to make it where you could stay profitable?
Yeah, so Tipton provides a few things. I mean, we have our like administrative office, and then we have our other office where we store all of our equipment and employees come. It's provided us a great 10 years of reliable people who want to work. We just had our first retirement this summer. So Chris had worked for us. She had worked for us almost right after we started, I think. Yeah. And just reached retirement age, and she moved to Florida. We've had people work for us and then move on to bigger jobs, which is fine. We've had people work for us part-time so they could put a down payment on a home, which is great.
Yeah.
So in terms of the labor market and being able to operate a business like pretty honestly affordably, this has been perfect.
Yeah.
Most of our clients aren't in Tipton. There's just not that enough construction. But we travel across Indiana and the adjacent states.
Okay.
So once you get in and you do a great job, it's like they just call you.
Yeah.
If you can do the right things and do the basics really well, we get in and now we have partnerships with these GCs.
Okay.
And we've grown with some like Patterson Horth. We started with them when they had a handful of superintendents. I think they're up over 30 superintendents now, which just means as they grow, we do too.
Yeah, that was my next question. So is it a lot of repeat business in terms of you're working with the GCs, you get in with them one job, you crush it, they're like, oh, let's call Stars and Stripes back. So it is a lot of repeat
reliable
with developers and GCs.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's about relationships. And the thing is just like any sector, there's transients. There people leave. They move jobs.
Yeah.
And what we find is if we had a really good relationship with a superintendent or a project manager at company A and they go to company B, they just call us when they go to company B. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of other things. There's bidding platforms, but we're pretty choosy about who we work with. We want to be.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily want to work with people who don't see the value in what we do or don't value us as a partner.
Yeah.
So then we just choose not to work with them. We're fortunate in that regard too.
Yeah. So you use the word relationship, which I think is a big piece in almost every business. When you boil it down to it, people want to do business with people that they enjoy talking to, that they've developed a real relationship with. Can you talk about that importance? Because you are still a professor, you teach entrepreneurship, right? Can you talk about why relationship building, no matter what business or industry you're in, is so important?
Yeah, it comes down to one thing. It doesn't matter if it's a boss to employee relationship, peer-to-peer relationship, friend-to-friend, or even your family. It comes down to one thing. People want to trust you. And the only way they can trust you is you can say things, but unless you do what you say one thing and then you follow through and do it, then there is no trust. You can talk all day long, but without follow through, the relationship becomes transactional. And what we don't want is transactional relationships. We want trusting relationships.
Yeah.
So anything I've done in life, whether it's on the council, a professorship, I work for insurance companies, whatever it is, it's about building trust. Leader, peer, doesn't matter.
Yeah. So somebody's in Tipton, they're like, I have this great idea for a business. I want to start it. I want to take this leap of faith. What advice would you give them?
Don't be guided by fear. Yeah, it's a great question. I get it all the time. And I honestly did not see, when I got out of the Army, I did not see myself as, let me start a business. Maybe I had an entrepreneurial mindset when it came to problem solving. I do love solving problems.
Yeah.
I'm pretty quantitative and process oriented. But I never thought I'd start a business. And most of that was based out of fear too. Fear of failure usually is why people don't do it. And then they start justifying it by saying, well, I don't even know how to do it, so I might as well not even try.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Like most people don't even know how to file an LLC. It takes 3 minutes. And I've helped people file LLCs, and they're like, "That's it." And I'm like, "Yeah,
yeah."
If you go about, if you let this stop you, then maybe you aren't ready for full blown business ownership. But most people, it's the fear of failure that keeps them from starting a business. So I would just say, look, if you're passionate about it and you want to do it, you have to go all in on it.
Yep. Yeah. And like, for instance, I didn't go all in at first. I did take the leap of faith eventually, but it's like, I never saw myself as a business owner. I didn't go to school for business. I started in business and then I hated math, so I quit that real quick because I didn't like the accounting side of it. Yeah. But then it's like people reached out and they had an issue. They were trying to manage their Facebook page and they didn't know what to do. They didn't even know how to start a Facebook page. And then that just kind of kept coming naturally. And then it was like, it hit a point where it's like I was working my 9-to-5 job for the state. And then I'd go home and work another couple hours on my side business. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't keep this up forever. And so I hit a kind of like breaking point and I had to make a decision. And that's when I went all in.
Actually, at a younger people, when I talk to my students at IU, Ivy Tech, or even when I was at Taylor, that's more of, you're seeing that that grow. That idea of I'll work a 9 to 5, but I'm going to start. They call it side hustles.
Yeah.
My 9 to 5, my 5 to 9 after my 9 to 5
Yep.
or whatever, and that's a great way to take a more risk averse approach.
Yeah.
Because maybe it doesn't work out, but you still have your job, and that is easier when you're younger and you don't have kids.
Yep.
And,
Oh, yeah.
and you're not married, or you are married, but it's just the two of you. So great way to approach it, but you still have to go all in, because it's so easy to come home from your state job, I'm sure, and say,
Yeah.
man, I'm tired.
Yep.
I don't want to do this. And you really have to keep pushing yourself, or it's just easy to give up.
Yeah, absolutely. So we led off of you're on city council. What first motivated you to get involved in local government?
Actually, when I came home from the Army, I don't know how it even happened, to be honest. I became a project manager for the EDO, the Economic Development Organization, when Jeff Sheridan was the director. And I just kind of got involved. I was doing my MBA, and within a few months, he left. And the board looked at me and said, all right, you're the director. And I'm like, I've never ran a not-for-profit. I barely know what economic development is, but I loved it. Only because I think I was so passionate. I'm from here.
Yeah.
So it really mattered to me. And that's kind of when I started getting involved adjacently to politics. We were funded by the county and city. So you're doing projects for the city and county. And we got some great things done. There were some elections. Elections have consequences. So the county decided not to fund the EDO anymore, and I just became a consultant for former Mayor Havens. And I loved it. And at some point, I was talking to him, and he said, look, if you want to be more in the decision chair, you should maybe get on the utility board, or maybe run for council. And he's like, and if you ever want to run for mayor, you could. I have no interest in that right now, to be honest. But I said, you know what? He's right. I did enough of, consulting and helping where I was like, and I loved George Ogden. That's who I ran against. We had a debate at the Elks, sponsored by the chamber. It was not contentious. I have so much respect for George and his family, but I felt the passion to run.
Yeah.
And I did, and I ran as a third party and won. And then I was actually going to take a break, and the Republican Party caucused me in, and here we are in my second term. But it comes from passion. I love Tipton, so I wanted to be involved.
So there's a lot of, people asking or putting questions out there, or comments on Facebook, who might not actually understand the role of the city council. There are specific roles of what the city council can do and what the mayor can do. Can you give an overview of what is the actual responsibilities of the city council?
I do get contacted quite a bit, and even if I don't have the answer, I will give my constituents or anybody who emails me at least guidance. So the first thing that's a really important distinction is we are not the mayor. So the executive office is separate. It's elected. In our class of city, the current mayor runs the city council meetings. We serve to do a few things. One thing is set the budget, set policies, pass ordinances, which are local laws, and pass resolutions. Usually, majority of the time, those are to transfer monies or allow the executive to enter into some kind of contract.
Yeah.
Outside, and health insurance. That's part of the budget. But outside of that, there's not much the council does in terms of day-to-day operations, choosing department heads. So in our class of city, the mayor chooses the department heads. The council doesn't even confirm them.
Okay.
The mayor has an edit budget, which he has pretty much sole control over. We approve the claim, but he has latitude to spend that as he sees fit, as long as it meets the broad definition of economic development. So when people have questions about things such as where do we stand with the baseball fields, or I have a complaint or a compliment about public safety or the parks department or the street department, they should go to the mayor's office. If you have complaints or compliments about or questions about your trash rate, your utility rates now, which are set by the council, local laws such as does my dog have to be on a leash? My neighbor has too tall a grass. You can contact your city council.
Okay.
Great question, because I do think it's important that people understand the difference so that they get the right answers. They know where to go to get the right answers.
Yeah, so you mentioned it's not the day-to-day operations of the city, or it's not like you're full-time city councilman where you're working 9 to 5, but there is more to it than just showing up every other week or twice a month for city council meetings. Can you give a kind of behind the scenes of like what a typical month looks like for a city council?
It changes based on if we're in budget or not. So if we're in budget season, that starts in the summerish and it's finalized in the fall. Sometimes they can, like my first year ever, we had 8 4-hour sessions maybe.
Wow.
It was all new council except for, I think, one. Lots of questions, lots of people wanting to change things. So during budget season, it could be 20 hours a month plus. I mean, probably way more than that. Right now, we're not in budget season, so you have 2 meetings a month, second and fourth Saturday for anybody interested. Then you also serve on other boards, like I'm on the health insurance board, I'm on the Board of Works, I'm on the ordinance committee. So all in, and plus you want to read the packet, you want to be informed, you want to have your questions answered. I would say all in a non-budget month, probably 10 hours a month.
Okay.
A little more maybe.
Yeah. So there is stuff happening behind the scenes and not just, oh, I'm going to show up on Monday at 5:30 and then just sit here and say yes, no, and then walk out and be done with it.
If you're doing your job as a city council, if you're doing your due diligence and executing the duties of your office to the highest of your ability, you're spending way more than 2 or 3 hours a month doing that.
Yeah. So say somebody has an issue or there's a project or even like something as small as like requesting a road closure. How does somebody make their way onto the council agenda? Very
easy. So the council doesn't actually set the agenda. Now we can change the agenda. We have the authority to amend it at the beginning of the meeting. But if anybody wants to have just a general public comment, you can come to the meeting. The mayor is allowed to allow or disallow. In general, he can't just pick and choose who gets to comment. So if you just want to show up, you can. Second and fourth Monday, 5:30 at City Hall, and you just have a general statement or question. Now, if you want to get on the agenda, you want to close a street, or you have something really important you want to share, you would just contact the city clerk's office and request to be on the agenda. They're going to ask you what for, and then they can guide you on if you need paperwork or if you're just coming to present.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. The request can be denied, is my understanding. I don't know why it would be. We've never, I don't think, have denied the request.
It's not like our city council meetings are always packed or, the agenda is not always just
We've had it happen.
full.
We've had people request, and we like to hear if there's, things from the public. I would ask the public to remind them that we can't please everybody. There are going to be things that we can hopefully explain to you our reasoning, and you can still disagree, of course. Yeah. But hopefully you walk away and say, well, at least I understand why they made the decision they made. I may still disagree with it, but I understand it now.
Yeah. I feel like that's a very important topic in general, just in life right now, is being able to understand people, even if you disagree. Like, we just don't see it. It's always my way or the highway. And so, take some wisdom from what he just said there and apply it to everything, not just Tipton City Council meetings.
Business.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to make a decision, if you have employees, if you have customers, it doesn't matter. If you have a spouse at home, you have to decide what direction you're going to take this business or whatever decision you're making and commit to it.
Yeah.
And the decision should be, is this what's best for my business? Is this what's best for the city? And with all the information, if your answer is yes, then commit to it, because I am elected to do what's best for the city. I know a lot of times people think I'm elected to do whatever the majority wants, but we don't put everything up to a referendum. That would be the worst way to run government. We never get anything done. I am there to take in all the information and make a decision on behalf of the constituents of Tipton for what's best for Tipton.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was a big project that was coming to Tipton and 51% of people said, we don't want it, but with all the information I had, it would lower utility rates, provide jobs, and I said, this is what's best. I'm going to do what's best for Tipton.
Yeah. So you get to see Tipton through a variety of different lenses. City council, business owner, and I feel like Tipton is at a very crucial spot in its history or in the shaping the future of where the city goes from here. what stands out to you about where the community is currently at and where it can go in the future? There are a couple of big things coming up, like the 28 reconstruction. And then obviously everybody talks about growth and people expanding out of Hamilton County. And, we're stuck between Kokomo and Hamilton County. What do we do from here? What are your thoughts on, growth is inevitable, I think. But, where does Tipton go from here?
I was asked this question yesterday, actually, by economic development consultant, and I think he was at Ball State's Economic Development Institute. And I said, every community rural community, especially across the Midwest, says the same thing. Mm-hmm. We're special. We've got a Dairy Queen. It's like, well, everybody kind of has this thing that they think their community special. I do, because I'm biased.
Yeah.
And then I was asked this question, well, what's the future like? What's Tipton at right now? And I said, Tipton is at the closest to a tipping point that I've ever experienced. So you're starting to see some external investment come into Tipton.
Yeah.
Especially downtown. But we're still at this point. I mean, the school sizes were shrinking. Now they're starting to go up a little bit. We still don't have housing, but it's they're literally rumors of 4 to 6 subdivisions slated for Baker's Corner. The Indiana National Guard just finished 6 minutes from where we're sitting.
Yeah.
They're running utilities almost to Tipton County line through Hamilton County. It's coming. It's just a matter of when and who's going to control it.
Yeah.
So that being said, it could be 5 years, or we could try to stop it, which just makes it 10 years. Mm-hmm. I'm just throwing out numbers.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at. We're at this weird inflection point that we're going to grow. It's just when. Do we want to be a part of it? If that's the case, then we should be a catalyst to help.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I feel, don't want to. I do.
Yeah.
I was also asked very pointed a question of, what does Tipton's population look like to be successful, in my opinion? And I said 8 to 10,000 would be an ideal size to maintain the tight-knit, close-knit community feel that Tipton's had, but also give us the population we need to fill the schools and have the amenities that we want.
Yeah. Yeah, so like right now, obviously with the Senate Enrolled Act from last year, that's putting a big hamper on everything. And like where do we make up some of this money? And like the schools are feeling that impact too. And, where do we go, I guess, is the only way to attract more people.
It used to be you could attract people and somewhat count on a little bit of residential property tax, and you'd attract small business or business in general to get their business personal property tax and their real property tax. Now we're into a point, because of SCA 1, communities like Tipton just lost their entire $2 million or less personal property tax, business personal property. For the layperson who maybe doesn't understand all that, let's say there's a factory that gets built in Tipton, and they make widgets, and they need $1.8 million of equipment inside to make the widgets. We used to be able to tax that to pay for local government. We can't now. That's all exempt. And at the same time, the state says, well, we want to save people money on their homeowners' property tax. I can support that.
Yeah.
But what they did was say, we'll give you up to $300 savings. And when the local government said, well, we're going to run out of money because you dinged us on personal property, business, and now you're dinging us on homeowners' property tax, what are we going to do? We got to cut 1/8 of or 1/4 of our budget. Mm-hmm. They said, no, you can now raise your local income tax. So it's like, great, you're going to save me $300 on my home tax.
Yeah.
But now my local government they're saying maybe $1,200 to $1,800 a year on your income tax. So it's actually a net loss in taxes. But we got to come up with it somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, the only path forward is people living here.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they work here under the current tax structure. We need people to live here so we have access to their income tax so that we can build the amenities that everyone wants.
Yeah.
Public safety, parks, keep our pool open, roads, streets, things like that. So the name of the game now is exclusively income tax.
Yeah.
Getting people to live here.
Yeah. And, I think Tipton is fortunate that we've been able to keep a well-maintained pool. We've been able to keep a very well-maintained park, and public safety. We've never had like an extreme shortage where people's calls aren't getting responded to or anything like that. that's in jeopardy. Not saying everything's going to go away, but there's some impacts that could really, where does the city cut budget? Is it from the parks? Is it from, so yeah, like people don't want growth, and I can understand that, but it's needed, like bottom line.
It's the you may not like the game, but the rules have been set and we have to play the game.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do? You literally can't quit. If you want to quit, I mean, that's just not an option.
Yeah.
So we're stuck playing the rules have been set for us. We're playing this game. Okay, so how do we win? I mean, at the current way it's going, Keegan and I have had this discussion. We don't want to do this. But in 2 years, the amount of money we have to cut, we could literally close the pool, the park, the golf course, and probably still not have enough money to make budget.
Wow.
So the only path forward is strategically thinking about how do we grow the income base? How do we keep these amenities going? The other thing that we've struggled with as a community since at least I've been back for the last, I guess it's been 12 years, we don't work well together outside of our, I call them little fiefdoms.
Yeah.
So you got townships, you got city government, you got county government, you got not-for-profits, and everyone kind of wants to hold on to their fiefdoms really tight, even though we're all trying to do, I hope, the same thing, and that's make the community better. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have to start working together a lot more to share resources, costs, get those economies of scale. Mm-hmm. We'll see where that goes, too. And we're very fortunate that we still own our own utilities, and we haven't had to sell them to make up for any budget shortfalls or anything like that. I would be opposed to that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's crazy when you put into perspective that we could cut park, pool, golf course, all that, and still not have it. And for people to understand that, you're going to put blame locally just because you can run into Nate or Keegan or any city councilman just walking downtown or something. But a lot of that is completely out of the city's control. The rules have been set. The law was made last year, and it's now, we're stuck to deal with it, but it's not necessarily anybody on city council's fault, the mayor's fault, previous administration, nothing like that. It's strictly coming from. I hear the retort
a lot that, you should just be better fiscal stewards of the money you do have. I don't necessarily disagree that there's always ways to improve government spending. Mm-hmm. The bottom line, though, is, and it doesn't matter if we're talking about Florida, the federal government, or the state of Indiana, or the city of Tipton, we have to run the government. We can disagree on the scope, but I hope everyone would agree. We have to have fire protection. We have to have police protection, and you probably need a street department.
Yeah.
Well, I think after that, we can discuss how big should the park be. Should we have a pool? But we're Uncle Sam at the end of the day, and Uncle Sam is going to pay for what is needed out of some form of tax.
Yeah.
Income, property, sales, and then you can have the discussion of what's the best one to levy. A lot of people love sales tax more than they do an income tax. But at the end of the day, we got to take taxes from somebody to pay for stuff.
Yeah.
And if you look, our city budget is pretty efficient. It's not like it's huge or a ton of waste. It's not like we have a ton of employees, or anything like that. Look at the safety building. The safety building was falling apart.
Yeah.
We finally got some money to renovate it, but we didn't build a brand new $15 million public safety building. Yep. So we're trying to be good fiscal stewards at the end of the day, but we got to run this thing. It's got to come from somewhere. I know nobody wants to pay tax. But
Yeah, that's the thing is like, the solution, the easy quote unquote solution would be, let's raise local income tax. Well, that's not ideal for a lot of people. A lot of people would be unhappy about that. So what's the alternative? Well, we start growing. And it's like, people also aren't a fan of that. It's like, which one would you rather have? A couple more thousand people that you might not ever really see, or do you want your income tax to go up? Yep. So like when I think of it like that, it's like, I'd rather see maybe a couple hundred more cars throughout the day driving around Tipton than pay double in income tax or something.
Spot where we weren't worried about class sizes shrinking at Tipton because money's tied to the student. And we weren't worried about new businesses closing because not enough people here have a just not enough people even.
Yeah.
Forget about whether or not they have a disposable income. There's just not enough people to frequent the business to stay open. And then you're running into, okay, there's not enough people registering their vehicle here for us to even repair half the roads or the sidewalks. And then we're closing the pool. And it can spiral quick, especially with SCA 1. This could get out of hand. The next few years are going to be painful regardless. Even if they change some things, it's going to get painful the next few years. We're going to have to be really creative as a city on how we get through it.
Yeah. And, the solution we talked about is growing, bringing more people in and more housing. When people question why haven't there been new housing additions, why haven't we done something about the housing issue? Can you talk through what that looks like to really get a housing development or even an apartment complex or something like that built in Tipton?
Well, it should shock nobody that understands the economic conditions in America that we have a housing shortage. We just have an amount of dwelling unit shortage, and Tipton is no different. The difference with Tipton is we are 25 minutes from a community that can sell a home before it's even thought about being built. The demand for housing is driving up home prices in Hamilton County fast. Well, imagine if you're a home builder. Would I want to build a home in Westfield that I know is sold for $650,000 to $1 million, like this, before I even put a stick in the ground? Or would I want to come to Tipton where you don't have enough data to show that I could even not only sell the home, but I may only get half the value I could 25 minutes away?
Yeah.
So we've had interest, but it's always the same thing. It's that logic, and then it's, what could you do to mitigate my risk? I don't want to build here and lose money. And that's, honestly, every rural community is going through this, and some have just basically bit the bullet and said, what do you want? You want $5 million? Fine. We'll leverage. We'll get a TIF bond. We'll come up with some financial mechanism to give you the incentive you want to mitigate your risk. We've gotten close. I was on the fence, too, about, Arbor Homes. I'm not one who wants to fight about the color of the vinyl siding.
Yeah.
Right? I get lot sizes, stuff like that are a concern. I'm more of to the point where how can we incentivize housing, but it doesn't jeopardize the finances of the city?
Yeah.
The catch-22 to that is if we don't get any housing, they're jeopardized regardless.
Yeah.
And SCA 1 has really ramped that fear up.
So what are some creative solutions to fix the housing issue in Tipton? I mean, I know there's been talks of developments and, nothing's obviously gone all the way through, but, how do we solve this when labor costs the same and materials cost the same as they do in Hamilton County? And frankly, if somebody were to build an apartment complex that they're building down in Westfield off of 31, just 10 minutes down the road, and they were to build it here, the rent would have to be pretty similar. That's just right. On overall cost. And that rent compared to the typical rent or mortgage payment in Tipton is probably...
That's right. So rent
way
here
higher.
Is obviously lower than it is in Noblesville, Westfield, Fishers, which are very close.
Yeah.
So the question, it all comes down to financial incentive. The question is, how much are we willing to give to incentivize and lower the risk for whoever wants to take the chance and build those? In my personal opinion, the only way that gets done successfully is if the city, the county, and other not-for-profits come together and do one project. I think the risk of doing the city trying to do a project and the county trying to do a project and then not-for-profits maybe not doing or splitting who they want to support is the wrong answer.
Yeah.
We're just too small, and that increases the risk. If we were too in an untipton characteristic outcome, come together finally and say, look, maybe it's a compromise where neither party is really super happy, but it's the best outcome for the community, city and county.
Yeah.
That's the best way forward.
Yeah. So, all sides might not necessarily agree on it, but if everybody can see the benefits of, swallowing their egos for the good of Tipton and Tipton County, maybe we can get something done and help right the ship, at least moving forward. The unfortunate part is even if everything was formalized today, we're not going to reap the benefits
3-4 years.
3 or 4 years. Yeah.
Could be.
So it's like the pressure is mounting even more of like every day that passes, it's, another year until we start seeing those financial benefits. So
100%. Yep.
yeah. So not to be all doom and gloom on the podcast today, but just,
it's
talking real. Yeah.
It's a reality. It doesn't take away from the fact that we are seeing people want to live here. Now, we don't have enough housing supply, but we are seeing people who want to live here, who want to be a part of the community, who are investing a lot of money in downtown properties, and things like that. That's also true. So there is positive to this. Yeah. We would be in a much worse position if we weren't next to Hamilton County and we didn't see people who wanted to be part of our community. Yeah. And there are communities, I think, that would do anything they could to be in our geographic location.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and end on some positive notes. What's your favorite local restaurant in Tipton?
Tough. My girls love Jim Dandy.
Okay.
We love East Street. We love the Mad Tap. We love the Shack. We love the Love Bug. Actually went there with Keegan the other day.
Nice.
Always good. It's tough. I mean, it's tough. We love the Sandwich Shop. I love I can always count on Daniel pushing what I would normally eat. And me thinking I won't try that, and I try it, and I'm like, this is unbelievable. Yeah. He had like a Korean barbecue sandwich the other day, and I was like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah. He puts the pressure on you when you walk in, and it's like, I'm just going to order something off the regular menu. He's like, have you heard the special this week? And I was like, yeah, but I don't like this. And he's like, trust me, you have to try it. And it's like,
I used to have a rule.
9 times out of time, he wins out, and I end up getting the special.
I told Daniel, I said, I have a rule. If I can't pronounce it, I usually don't eat it. But he is a fantastic, creative. He was in my grade in high school. He's always been a very creative. It just goes to show there is a lot of entrepreneurship in Tipton. Yeah. There really is. If you look through our history, it's been there. There's just a lot of people who have really unbelievable skills.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about the tie-on and the other. I always say it right.
That's one I don't know. Yucati. Yeah, I don't.
I'm just excited. No, it's So almost anywhere.
Yeah, I think it's that's one of the unique things about Tipton is like, there's only 5,000 residents, but we just named off almost 10 locally owned restaurants, food places. For a city this size is honestly pretty remarkable. I think
and we didn't even get to some of the other ones.
Yeah.
Right? So I agree.
It's crazy. Yes, we have the fast food places, but I think the locally owned restaurants, food places far outshine the. I don't want to throw the fast food places under the bus, but it's very.
I do.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
It's better.
Yeah, but it is nice to see that even though Tipton is quote unquote small, that there is this much unique food options in a city this size.
Seems to be getting better too.
Yeah. Favorite thing to do in Tipton on a weekend? Yeah. Especially, it's getting warm.
Yeah, I've got daughters, so I was reminded of this yesterday. Get in the golf cart. We can go to the park. We can go to the library. We can park the golf cart and literally we'll walk around and do stuff. We'll go get a donut at East Street. We'll go into the Empty Vase or in the Urban Homestead or in the Hortons. We'll go down and play some pinball. My girls love pinball now.
Yeah, awesome.
We'll just walk around. Walk around downtown. We'll go to the park. Then, of course, we got to go to Penguins, which is what my girls call South Pole.
Love it.
When the summer's here, we go to the splash pad. And now my girls are old enough to start going to the pool. Sometimes my brothers and dad and I will take a Friday and go golf. Yeah. There's so much to do here. There's a few things I hope we get in the future. They're usually called like family-tainment things.
Okay.
We love to go to Columbus, Indiana. You could literally park your car in downtown Columbus and stay the whole day. Yeah. There's an indoor park. There's a children's museum. There's the library is within a block, kind of like ours. Yeah. That's my dream for the future of Tipton is families can come here from town, out of town, park their car and spend 10 hours. Yeah. And still have plenty to do.
Yeah. Throwing around the golf, that's 4 out of the 10 hours.
It is.
So there you go. Yeah. But it is nice. You can drive your golf cart to the golf course. Then you can just hop over to the park. Then you can drive it downtown to get drinks afterwards. Like
concerts in the park.
The concerts are.
We have some great downtown events. The not-for-profits or the just local businesses put on. Yeah. The Easter event was awesome. We stayed downtown for a long time with the Easter event.
Yeah.
It all comes down to there's just so many good people in Tipton.
Yeah. We'll wrap up with a quick one: coffee or energy drinks.
Both.
Both. All right. Depending
I was
on
in the
day.
Army, so
yeah.
we used to drink Rippets. I mean, those are terrible for you.
Gosh, yeah.
So no, I usually do coffee in the morning. Then I'll do an energy drink before I see Dan at the gym. And then I will drink decaf the rest of the day.
Okay.
I could drink coffee all day. I love coffee. But I got to be careful because once 6 o'clock hits, I don't want to be up. So my go-to energy drink right now is Bloom.
Bloom?
It's called Bloom.
I've never
I used
heard
to
of that
drink
one.
I think they're called Alanas.
Oh, yeah.
Or C4s if I'm really feeling froggy.
Yeah.
But I saw it. It's an all natural energy drink, 180 milligrams of caffeine, pretty short ingredient list.
Yeah.
With no dyes, and it still gives me before a workout. So shout out Bloom.
Yeah.
You can only
We're
find
giving
them
all
at-
the free ads out today. Buc-ee's, Bloom.
Speedway is the only place that I think carries them now.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
they used to have them at Casey's, but
I'll have to check that one out. I literally just switched back to coffee today.
go black coffee.
Sometimes. I put a little bit of vanilla creamer in it, but
that's the way to
I don't it's not 50-50 or anything. I just put a little splash of it
Starbucks.
in there. Yeah, it's not Starbucks at all. So, and I do the sugar-free creamer, make it a little better.
If we can get a Dutch Bros,
Ooh.
that would be awesome. Our scooters, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Too.
I live in Anderson, and on Scatterfield, literally half a mile each, I won't even say half a mile, each direction from where I'm at off of Scatterfield, there's been a Dutch Bros and a 7 Brew open up within the last
Brew
month.
is good too. Nitro Brew, 7 Brew.
Yeah. It's crazy to see.
They're giving Starbucks a run. If you look at Starbucks,
there's a
business-wise, it's
Starbucks
starting to shrink.
stuck in the middle of both of those coffee places too.
I'm not a Starbucks fan.
No.
They bleach their coffee.
Yeah. I've seen the videos where they take whatever the smallest one, and then the amount of ice that they put in all of their other ones, you could take as small and it would actually fill up the tallest one.
Yeah.
And
Iced coffee's un-American, so I don't drink it.
all right. Yeah. We'll end with a Tipton one. That wasn't really Tipton related,
Okay.
but if somebody had just had 1 or 2 hours to come into Tipton and was like, hey, I got to kill time between a meeting or something, what should they do?
I mean, it depends. If they're just coming in for a few hours, definitely go to East Street, get some good coffee.
Yeah.
And they have iced coffee, but steer clear of that. They have great coffee. So get a cup of coffee. If you're not going to eat lunch there, go to the Shack if it's not Tuesday.
Okay.
And if you're going to stay, if you're here in the evening, go over to the Mad Tap.
Especially in the summer.
Wheelies, fantastic. Yeah, they have trivia nights. They have bands.
Outdoor seating, right?
Yep.
Literally in the middle of downtown.
Yeah, it's fantastic. If you're going to come in an evening and you do have time, go to the Diana. If you're going to come during the day, though, there's just walk around. There's so much to see.
Yeah.
So many great people. They'll welcome you in with a hi and a big smile. So
Yeah. Diana's 100th year anniversary this year.
love that family.
Yeah.
Great people. Again, Tipton's full of great people.
Yep. Well, thanks, Nate, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we'll be sure to catch up soon.
Sounds good.
All right. Take care.
Yep.